All right. Did it go? Oh, it's going. Okay, so today we are going to be reading a book called Cesar Chavez. And while we're reading this book, we're going to be looking for character traits and characters.
What are character traits?
Character traits are, I love that question. Character traits are things that describe the character, whether it's a physical or like internally, whether they're sweet, kind. So what are some of your character traits, Carrie?
Nice, kind, funny.
Right? What are yours, Angeline?
Weird.
What are yours?
Funny, weird, kind, tackling.
What is that?
Tackling as in I tackle a lot.
Oh, you tackle people. Okay. So when we're looking for character traits in the book, first we need to know who's the character. So on the cover of the book, this looks like a character, right? Because a character is a person, being, or an animal.
Oh.
Right? So we're going to be looking at the characters, kind of like, are they tall? Those are things that you can talk about. And then we're going to read and then find some traits. And there's also a list of traits that can help you guys because we're going to do a small activity. But before we start reading, let's go over some words that we might not know when we're reading the book. So
Pesticides.
Yeah, the first word is pesticides. So tap it out on the table. Pesticides. 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 Yes, ma'am?
I know what the next one is.
What's the next one?
Migrant.
Migrant. It's migrant. Migrant. Just tap it out on anything. Migrant.
Migrant.
What's a migrant? Does anyone know? What is it?
I think it's, how do I explain it again?
You forgot? So a migrant is a worker that moves from place to place. So they could work in California and then go work in Arizona doing the same job. The last word is a
Onion.
union. Is an onion. The last word is a union. Union. That's when you can think of it. You and I work together as a team to get a task done. It's a union. We're going to see these words in the story. Here's a book for you and a book for you. So while we're reading the book, I want you guys to be very aware of the character traits and when the character traits are changing. Because do you think that they're going to be the same? No. So they'll switch. So on your sheet of paper, we're going to draw a hangman figure. You start off with a circle. That can be like the person's head. Put a line. This.
I drew too big of a circle.
Oh, it's okay. So did I. This.
I did it.
And this.
What do you do after that?
So we're going to pause, Angeline. We're going to pause. So right here, you'll write the character's name, but we don't know the character's name yet, right? Because we haven't read the book. And then on the parts of the body, we're going to write some character traits. So remember that character traits are what describes the character. That's what you'll write on the lines of the body.
I have to give my hangman hair.
You got it.
Have to do it.
You can give him some hair. That's totally fine. So I'm going to start off reading just to show you guys what it might look like. I'm going to read the first few pages, and then I'll have Carrie read, and then Angeline read, and we'll take turns, and we'll notice some character traits first, okay? So, Cesar Chavez. Arizona, 1933. When Cesar Chavez was 6 years old, it was time for him to start school. Cesar walked down the dusty road to school with his big sister Rita. He was scared. Do you think that scared would be a character trait to describe him? Right, so let's write scared on our hangman. And then, but who's the character?
Cesar Chavez.
Right. So write that on the head and scared. And we know he's scared because the book tells us that he's scared. So he held Rita's hand. Cesar's feet hurt. He was not used to wearing shoes. Cesar's teacher shortened his name to Cesar. Cesar sounded less Mexican, the teacher said. The teacher told the children to speak English. Speaking English was hard. Everyone spoke Spanish at home. Many times Cesar forgot to speak English. Then the teacher hit his fingers with a ruler. Cesar's grandparents had been born in Mexico. Cesar's grandfather had worked for a cool rancher. The rancher whipped his workers. Finally, Cesar's grandfather escaped to Arizona. Yes, Gary?
What's a rancher?
A rancher is like a farmer. Do you know what a farmer is?
Yes.
Yeah. So he brought his family with him. Cesar's father, Labardo, met Cesar's mother, Juana, and Arizona. She had been born in Mexico, too. Caesar was born near Yuma, Arizona. Richard and Lenny were Caesar's little brothers. Vicky was the baby. They lived in a house made of thick adobe bricks. The house stayed cool in the summer and warmer in the winter. Yep. Thanks.
Also, I think I found another character trait.
Ooh, what other character trait did you find?
Over here.
What do you think
Well,
that character trait would be?
Sometimes he forgot to speak English and
Forgetful.
Right? That's a good trait. He could be forgetful. Confused. Forgetful and confused, right? Because it's kind of tricky when you're learning a new language. So that's really good that you pointed out that character trait.
And what is it? What's the other one?
Confused. I'd be confused too if I didn't know English and I had to learn it. Okay. They lived in a house made of thick adobe bricks. The house stayed cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Okay, Angeline, I want you to start reading on this page. And remember, if you notice any character traits, to write them down.
At night, Cesar watched his father make toy cars from tin cans and small pieces of wood. Cesar and his brother played with their cars on the floor. At bedtime, their grandmother listened to the children's prayers. Everyone in the Chavez family worked on their farm. Cesar's father planted seeds in the dirt. He hoed away the weeds. He dug ditches to bring water from the river to the farm. Without water, the crops could not grow.
All right, so let's pause right there. On page 10, do we see another character trait?
Helpful.
Helpful, right? That's a good one. Or maybe hardworking.
Yikes.
Shh, focus. It's okay. Helpful. Hardworking.
You tell me.
All right, now Carrie, you continue.
Cesar and Richard fed the horses, cows, and chickens. They gathered eggs. Rita washed clothes by hand. Juana made tortillas from ground corn. Their family was poor, but Juana still invited homeless people to eat with them. No one should go hungry.
On page 11, did we notice another character trait?
Kind.
What does it say? Their family was poor. Being poor, right? Remember, you have your list of character traits? So, I think right there, poor could be a character trait.
And I'm going to do these little
Right?
sound effects that you're going to hear in the background.
Okay. Here's your list. Carrie, that's yours. Thank you, ma'am. We are on page 12.
Okay.
And Carrie will continue reading for us.
Cesar's aunts, uncles, and cousins lived nearby. Sometimes they came to the Chavez farm for
Fiestas.
fiestas. Everyone ate a lot of good food. Cesar and his cousins swam in the ditches. They rode horses and climbed trees. It was a good life. Hard times. 1930s. In the 1930s, millions of people lost their jobs. Banks closed. So did many stores. Many people did not have enough money to buy food. They had to sell their homes and farms. It was the Great Depression. I'm going to say homeless.
Homeless. Okay. While you guys are writing that, I will continue. The Chavez family still had lots of milk, eggs, and vegetables. They had enough to sell and enough to eat. Then there was a drought. Without rain, the ditches dried up. Without water, the families could not grow crops. There wasn't enough corn for the chickens to eat, so the chickens stopped laying eggs. There wasn't enough grass for the cows to eat, so the cows stopped making milk. In 1938, Caesar's family had to sell their land. They drove to California to look for work. Caesar was 11. There was a lot of big farms in California. The farmers needed people to plant and weed and pick crops. People traveled from farm to work. They were called migrant workers. In the spring, the Chavez family planted seeds. It was cold in the fields. Usually, Caesar was barefoot. Shoes cost too much money.
Shoeless?
Shoeless? Well, that's like, remember when we said he was poor because they couldn't afford things, so they didn't have money. Angeline, will you continue on this page?
It was hot work in the summer. Cesar taught short and his back hurt. It was hard to bend over all day. Sometimes field smelled of poisons called pesticides. The farmers sprayed pesticides to kill insects that might eat the plants. These pesticides made the workers sick. The children put oranges and lemons from the trees. They picked peas, corn, bean, and cotton. The workers filled boxes with fruits and vegetables. They were paid by the weight each box. Everyone in the family worked. It was the only way to make money. If a family would not work for equal pay, there was always another family to take its place. When the crops shifted from on one farm, the Travis family drove to another. They needed the money. The Travis family stayed in farm camp. The migrant workers. The farm camps were crowded and dirty. The Travis family squeezed into a shower. It had a dirt floor and no bathroom. When it rained, everything got wet. There was lots of mud. Many farm camps had tents, not showers. The tents were small. Cesar and Richard had to sleep outside. Rita slept in the car. Joanna cooked outside in a big metal pan. She still fed me when she was hungry.
Did we notice a character trait on there? I know we see lots of characters on the page, right? But do we notice any character traits? It doesn't have to be about Caesar, so we don't have to write this one down. But what?
Feeding the homeless.
So what would you call that? Do you have any ideas, Angeline? What's the word? I would say so when she fed everyone who was hungry, and they didn't have a lot, right? So I would think that that's generous. That's generosity. So they're kind. You don't have to write it down because it's not about Caesar, but just notice the different characters and character traits. So then, when they needed food, Caesar's parents shopped in the nearest town. Signs over some stores said white trade only. Caesar's family was Mexican. They could not shop at those stores. Caesar missed Arizona. He wanted to ride a horse. He wanted to climb a tree. When his toy car was stolen, Caesar wanted to hurt whoever took it. Juana told her son not to fight. It takes two to fight, she always said. Fix your problems with words, she added. Growing up, 1942. When he was 15, Caesar met Helen Fabele. In Delano, California. Her parents were in Delano to pick cotton. Caesar and Helen married in 1948. Their first son, Fernando, was born the next year. More children soon followed. Caesar and Helen worked hard. They picked beans, strawberries, and other crops. They were each paid about $1 an hour. It was not enough money for food, clothes, or simple house. Caesar believed that the migrant families deserved better. Do we notice any different character traits on these two pages?
They had a baby.
So having a baby is just like a detail in their life. So remember that character traits kind of just describe the person. Do you see any? What? No, I couldn't hear you. So here's a
They
hint.
were working hard.
Right, so right on page 27, it says that Caesar and Helen worked hard, so they're hard workers. We might have already said that one, right? Just making sure that we're noticing the different character
we said hard
traits.
work.
Good job. So, Carrie.
Cesar read books about leaders. He wanted to learn how they helped people improve their lives. Then Cesar met Doris Huerta. She helped Mexican-American farm workers. He met Fred Ross. Fred wanted the migrant workers to become U.S. citizens. They could vote. They could vote for workers' rights. Dolores and Fred had some good ideas. They believed that people together could make changes in their lives. Even poor Mexican Americans together had power. Like his mother, Cesar wanted to help other people. So Cesar helped Mexican Americans sign up to vote. Cesar and Doris started a union, a group of workers. It was the first union for farm workers in the United States. Cesar traveled all over California. He talked to workers in farm towns. If they could join the union, he told them they would be a team. They could ask for farm owners for changes. If the owners said no, the union could go on strike. All the people in union would stop working until the changes were made.
Angeline, you start.
Many of the workers listened to Cesar. He was a good leader. Maybe he was right. They were tired of living in a tractor pen. They wanted clean water and grain. They didn't want to near the pesticides that made them sick. The changes would be hard to get, they knew. Cesar knew that it too, but he would try. He would do it peacefully. Cesar did not believe in fighting for things.
So let's pause here. On page 32 and 33, we see lots of characters in the pictures, right? Because we remember what characters look like. But do we notice any different character traits?
I do.
What character trait do you notice, Angeline?
He's a good leader.
Who's a good leader, right?
Peaceful.
Peaceful, right? Those are both great character traits. I'll add them to my hangman.
He's a leader and he's peaceful.
He's a leader and he's peaceful. Right? But those are all good qualities to have. So many people thought that Caesar would fail. Rich families or big companies owned most farms. Caesar was poor. He had dark skin. He was only a farm worker, one of thousands. Action. 1965. Caesar was becoming a strong union leader. The union decided it was time to strike. The workers would not pick grapes in California. Grapes rotted on the vines. The farm owners lost money. Caesar asked shops to stop buying grapes. Many families listened. They did not buy grapes. Some stores would not even sell grapes. Many drivers would not carry grapes into their trucks. The farm owners lost more money. The workers worried. They weren't paid. How would they feed their families? How could they find work picking others' crops? Caesar told them to be patient. Workers have rights, he said. Carrie?
A year passed. It was time to tell more people about their strike. Cesar led a march of workers to the capital city of California in 1966. It took them 25 days to walk over 300 miles, from Diano to Sacramento. From the word spread, workers from other states came to walk with Cesar. Actors, students, and government leaders joined the marches. Along the way, other farm workers gave them food and water. Cesar's feet hurt. He had a high fever, but he kept walking. People read about the march in newspapers. They saw news about it on television. Some people agreed that migrant farm workers must be helped. Other people disagreed. The grape strike continued in more and more states. Americans stopped buying grapes. Cesar and the union were making a difference. After 5 years, the owners of the grape farms finally gave in. The grape strike ended in 1970. The workers got paid better. They got some money for doctors. Cesar was tired but happy. It was a good start. The farm workers went back to work.
All right, let's pause right here. Do we notice any character traits?
Yes.
Let's write them down, and then we'll share later. Write down what you notice. So remember that character traits describe the character, whether it's their feelings or their actions, how they're
I
thinking.
said he had rights.
Right?
He's,
So Angeline, I want you to pick up on page 42. After the strike, 1970.
he was pretty,
Cesar and Helen lived separately. They had 8 children. The union paid for their home and Cesar had enough money for his family. Every day, Cesar worked for the union. He went to meetings to learn new marches. He gave speeches. He wanted to make sure all farm workers were treated fairly. Sometimes he was gone from home for weeks. He was always tired. Cesar died one night in 1992. His hind head had worn out completely. He was only 66. California's state flags were lowered to half-mast to honor him. Caesar was buried near Delano. About 40,000 people came to visit him. Most of them were migrant farmers, and all of his life, Caesar helped others. He helped with words, not with his fists.
Awesome. Okay, so just thinking right now, and then we'll kind of write about it. So, was he the same character? Did he have the same traits throughout the entire story, or did they
No,
change?
They
Right.
changed, especially when he went from childhood to
Right. So we can flip over our paper and kind of draw like a timeline. So we'll start just beginning, middle, and end. Scratch that a little bit. Beginning,
Oh,
middle, end. So in the beginning, I want you guys to tell me what his character traits were, right? And then in the middle, I want you to tell me what his character traits were. And then in the end, what were they like?
In the beginning,
in the beginning,
You can always look back at this. Just think about what you wrote first.
can we just write character traits or?
Yeah, just write the character traits. Focus, Angeline. Based on what we read, why do you guys think that this character had so many, since we said his character changed throughout the story, right? Why do you guys think that he had so many different character traits? Because that's why you guys write a lot down. Why?
because
Because farmers were hungry.
Right? So why do you think that, Carrie?
I think that he had so many different character traits is because he went everywhere and he did a lot of
Right?
stuff.
So he experienced lots of different things. So at first he was a boy and then he grew into a man. And there's tons of change when you're growing up.
Oh gosh.
It's okay. Alright, so lastly, let's share. Angeline, tell me some character traits that you said that Caesar had at the beginning of the story.
Homeless, kind, poor, scared for their own.
What did you have in the middle of the story?
I had helpful, hardworking, and poor.
Right? And at the end, I had that he ended with being a leader and that he was happy. So I think all of our character traits kind of tie together. So that remember in your reading, when you understand the character's traits, it helps you understand the character better and why they have the actions that they do. If he was mean, then he wouldn't have been a leader, right? Awesome job, ladies. Thank you guys so much.